Hey guys, thanks for coming back. This weekend I saw Spider-Man 2 starring Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Dane DeHaan, that's harder than you think, and also Jamie Foxx as Electro. This is With a K Review. I'm Victor. This is one of the movies I've been waiting for, Spider-Man. I don't know what this is doing.
With a K review. It's VIC?
No, it's with a K.
Oh.
So when I started to see trailers for Spider-Man 2, I was kind of nervous along with like everybody else because it looked like they were going to be sticking a lot of villains into this movie. And kind of like Spider-Man 3, when they did that, it didn't work out so well. Yeah. But I was a little bit more reassured when Mark Webb was going to come back for this movie because he did a pretty good job in the first one. It's just like the ending with, the promise Peter made to Gwen Stacy's father and then kind of took it back like a douche and like 2 minutes of movie time. But other than that, everything was fine with the movie. I thought it was really good reimagining of Peter Parker. The story was pretty good. The action revolved around the story. But with this movie, it was a little bit different. And I'm not sure if I liked it, disliked it, or what. Oh, don't worry, I'm going to explain this. The movie starts out with Peter Parker, and he's really enjoying being Spider-Man. He takes down this armored car that's piloted by the Rhino, who's played by Paul Giamatti. And just one little side note here on Rhino. He is only in the beginning of the movie, not in his suit, and then he's at the end of the movie. And he doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, but again, we're going to get to that just a little bit later in the review. But as Spider-Man is taking down the armored car, he has this really great conversation with Paul Giamatti's character, and it really sets up like the whole feel of the movie because Andrew Garfield does a really, really good job as Peter Parker, being that smart mouth behind the mask. It's kind of like almost Deadpool, but he's not insane. And that's one thing that I really did like about this movie is that, when an actor can like take a role like that and become the role, it's really cool. And that's kind of how I felt with Jamie Foxx in this movie as Electro. And like all the previews, he really looked awesome. And I was really looking forward to it. And in this movie, Electro has a part in it. Like, he does affect Peter Parker in this movie, but there's really no like big grand scheme of Electro, and that was kind of bothering me throughout this entire movie. Because in the first movie, you had Doc Connors and he was going to turn everybody into lizards, and that story kind of revolved around Spider-Man. It affected him and affected how Peter thought and all that stuff. But in this movie, Electro really doesn't have a whole lot of interaction with Spider-Man. I really liked how my voice cracked there. Anyway. Now, he does fight Spider-Man, but like all the battles, like they're really funny and everything, and they're really intense, and like there are just some scenes where he's like swinging around in slow motion. I didn't do an effect on that. That was just me, just so you know. And all the fights that he had with Spider-Man were really great, and I loved them, but I just noticed that he just fought Spider-Man. Like in the first movie, the Lizard would constantly like taunt Spider-Man, and, like he had his interactions with Peter in the movie, but this one, Electro, Jamie Foxx did a wonderful job as Electro. It almost reminded me of the sadistic nature of the Joker in the Batman movies. I'm not saying like he's Joker-esque, but actually he just, every time he talks, you're just entranced. You're just standing there like. And that's the one thing that kind of bothered me at the end of the movie was that I really liked Electro in the movie, but in all the previews and trailers, it really seemed like you were going to have Electro, Rhino, Green Goblin, and maybe even a fourth character in the movie. But honestly, in this movie, you have Electro and a little bit of the Goblin. He's played by Dane DeHaan in the movie. And I like Dane DeHaan, great actor. He always seems to play like some weird sadistic little kid. Remember him in Chronicle? He was Andrew, and that movie was okay, but let's not get off on too much of a sidetrack here. But when he comes in the movie as Harry Osborn, it's been explained that he's been away at boarding school for like 10 years, and that's pretty interesting because I actually bought into Harry and Peter's friendship in the movie because like in the first 3 movies, you had 2 movies in which, Peter and Harry got to know each other and, and that felt like it was more real. But in this one, it was pretty decent, actually, because, if your character just comes in and is like, hey, man, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Yay. I was worried that they were going to put in all these other villains, and you know what? They actually didn't. This movie does not, revolve around the villain aspect, because it actually revolves around the love story between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, that's going to be terrible. It's going to be like Titanic. I don't know how it'd be like Titanic. That's kind of weird. Anyway. Now, when I was watching the movie, I actually didn't mind that the movie actually revolved around the story of Peter and Gwen. It was actually pretty interesting. I just kind of wished, like, you know, like some of the villains affected him more. And they do in the movie a little bit, but it's not as much as I thought it would be. He's more worried about trying to find out more stuff about what his parents did and what happened to them. And there's this little montage that does tell about what happens to Peter's parents. I won't, you know, spoil anything, but it almost seemed like it was a little unnecessary and kind of like one of those side things that was like detracting from the story. And I know we really wanted to find out about it, but I thought it was taking too much away from like the other villains and how they were going to affect Peter in the movie. But for the most part, I actually did enjoy like the love story. I enjoyed a lot of the action in the movie. I just felt like the villains really should have had more of something to do with it. And like I was afraid, you know, in the beginning that, you know, you were going to have all these villains like in Spider-Man 3, and then you were going to, you know, just have everybody have all their sub-stories and subplots and everything like that. But in this movie, it's like instead of going to all the villains affecting Spider-Man, they kind of went to all the villains sort of affecting Spider-Man. And there was really none of that middle ground that I was kind of hoping for. And then the other thing that I noticed about this movie is that it had kind of the same ending as the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, you know, where they like tied up in a nice little bow and they were like, here you go, present. And I just really felt like they really could have stopped this movie like 10 minutes before the last scene, because I really wanted to see, you know, just a little bit more negativity. Don't mean to be mean about that. It's just like we seem to have all these movies that like end with really like happy endings and so forth. And I was really hoping that Mark Webb this time would just be like, okay, I'm going to stop it right here and, you know, it kind of leave everybody like on a little bit of a down note and really like lead into that next movie. And he tried to, you know, give everybody a nice feeling, and that's fine. It's just like, you could have done without it. But what I'm going to say is like the second to last after movie credits scene, I think that's how that goes, was really good. It helped define some more of the villains in this movie. And that's what I kind of enjoyed. So what I think I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to give The Amazing Spider-Man a 3K. And I'm going to give it a strong 3K because that after credits scene part of the movie, because it kind of helped me, gave me a little bit more faith in one of the characters, especially the villain character, and I enjoyed it and it was fun. I would say that you guys don't really need to see this in 3D. It was pretty good. It was post-converted. But I would say if you really want to go see the Spider-Man 2, go see it as a matinee. And when it comes out on video, rent it. And when it becomes streaming, make sure to hit that in like your top 5 of your queue. And as always, thank you for watching my show. I do appreciate all the viewers, subscribers that I do have. Make sure my With a K fans, that you can just give me a little bit of a whack here. You know what? Whack me right there. You know what? To subscribe to my channel, whack up here if you want to see some more of my other past reviews. And you know what? Give me a little wacky whack down in the comment section. That sounded a little weird. But anyway, if you know what, never forget, if you don't like what you're watching, you can always turn it off. But thanks for coming back and seeing me, guys.